For the next programming assignment, we're doing arrays in PHP, so you need to get a check mark next to this little module. A few things to point out to you, so it'll help your learning. One of the things I wanted to point out is that when you're doing something, right, like here we had to create our first array. I actually had a little bit of trouble with this because I was like, how does that syntax go? So if you type something in, it'll remember what you've typed in. You could go back to previous modules and you could copy that line of code, highlight it, Control-C, come back to the module you're working on, and then I could paste in, right, kind of what that was, and I could be like, oh, that's the way it needs to look. I could even then just copy that and paste it there, and there I have my friends array, and I could change these names to whatever I wanted. Now notice I have this for 5 people. And when I hit save and submit, what happens? Oh, 3 elements. Did you remember to put 3? Well, what happens when I change this down to 3? And processing. And this happened to me earlier too. It seemed like Codecademy kind of hung up right here when I tried to process this one. So I had to close Codecademy, start it back up, go back into the course, and I'm actually a little bit ahead because let's go back into arrays because I've already finished that one. Go back to number 3 and see if it'll, let's add one more here and see if it'll take it. All right, so I had to change those names, make sure there was only 3, and then finally it took it. Something else to know about this one is let's just see what's going on in this one. What did I want to point out here? So just watch what happens as I change these numbers. When the sort of identifier subscript, it's called in Java, the subscript identifier for each of the elements in the array. So this first element is 0, the second element is 1, this third element is 2. So if I want to look at the first element, I say print out what's in the array at position 0, and it prints out 10 because that's at position 0. At position 1 is the 20. At position 2, 0, 1, 2, right, is 30, right? So that's how you access an individual element in an array. So you could even do things like echo so echoing what's in position 2 by what's in position 1. So 30 by 20, right, would be 600. So there's the 600. So you could access individual elements of the array that way. But just wanted to show you how you that's the numbering is the 0 position, the first position, second, third, fourth. That's how it works in arrays. And then next thing I wanted to point out was that sometimes they just start using new terminology here. So here we're using print instead of echo. You could again go to Google and you could search for difference between print versus echo in PHP, and you can read about that. But as far as I can tell at this point, they do exactly the same thing. And next thing I want to point out is this last one here. And what did I want to point out about this? I guess just that here we have a loop, and the loop is saying for all the elements in the array, let each element be given this variable name. We could have called this variable, element. And then if we use that right here, right, it would loop through and it would print out each element. So we could call this variable whatever we want. They had it called lang. So for each language in the languages array, you could have called it language. That would have actually been kind of a cool thing to call it. For each language in the languages array, print out that language and give it its own paragraph. So that's kind of just a loop that's going through. And so sometimes you'll see this code beforehand. It's just before they've explained it. If you look at it, try to understand it, you usually can. All right. I know that was a little rambly, but I hope it made a little sense. Get this check mark, take a picture.